Hey everybody, John the Other here. Obviously. Now, in my video of yesterday, I talked very briefly about California's recent Yes Means Yes law, which was an amendment onto the educational bill in California stating that sexual activity between people on a college campus is rape unless there is affirmative, active, and ongoing consent rendered by both parties throughout whatever sexual activity may or may not be happening. Now, that might be a little bit weighty in the language, so I'm going to read you the actual segment of the Senate bill which addresses affirmative ongoing consent, so you know the language and we're all talking about the same thing. Section 67386 is added to the Education Code to read, an affirmative consent standard in the determination of whether consent was given by both parties to sexual activity. Quote, affirmative consent means affirmative, conscious, and voluntary agreement to engage in sexual activity. It is the responsibility of each person involved in the sexual activity to ensure that he or she has the affirmative consent of the other or others to engage in the sexual activity. Lack of protest or resistance does not mean consent, nor does silence mean consent. Affirmative consent must be ongoing throughout a sexual activity and can be revoked at any time. That's really interesting. Now, a literalist logical reading of that language says that consent must be active, it must be affirmative, it must be obviously unambiguous, and it must be ongoing. So if somebody says, may I penetrate you now? And they say yes, which is a silly fucking way to go about sex in the first place. But then they don't say yes again. I mean, they say yes and you get on with fucking. A couple of minutes later, if they haven't repeatedly said, yes, please continue doing that, by the letter of this law, they've revoked consent. Essentially, in this model, assuming even that people engaging in sex on both sides go through this absurd clown-ass dance of, may I take your panties off? May I undo your bra? Maybe I fondle your breast? He's like, yes, please do that. Have my lawyer sign that we got to that stage. Even if they go through that level of ridiculous, clownishly stupid kabuki dance in the preamble to a sexual encounter, the ongoing element of this means that they have to just keep saying, yes, please keep doing whatever it is you're doing. Yes, please keep doing whatever it is you're doing. You have to keep asking as you go, may I continue fucking you? Now, if this was a law addressing all sex, it would be bad enough. The weird thing is, though, that this is not the Justice Department's new standard for sexual assault. This is the standard to be required that colleges and universities uphold if they are to continue getting state funding as a college or a university, as an educational institution. As you read through the bill, it keeps repeatedly saying that that compliance with this at the level of the college administration or the college board is where they lose their funding if they don't comply. So this law forces college administrations to assume the role of a law enforcement agency. Even though they're not in the business of law enforcement, they don't have the culture of law enforcement, their staff are not trained lawyers and investigators and police officers and so on. So what's really going on? And also, the finding of a student being guilty of some sort of sexual misconduct under these rules doesn't mean they get put in handcuffs and taken to jail. It means they get their academic career ruined. You know, their tuition of however many tens of thousands of dollars they paid in tuition, pushed out the window goes that money. They retain their debt, their academic career is ruined, their reputation is ruined. It's a life-ruining law based on sexual misconduct as being so loosely defined as basically all sex, except the most absurd kabuki dance version of it, is now some sort of a sexual violation under this law. Now, the language of the bill is sexually neutral, so if you were incredibly fucking naive, you might think that this is to protect male students from inappropriate female advance just as much as it's to protect female students from inappropriate male advance, or, same-sex couples or whatever. Does anybody actually think that's how it's going to be interpreted? Put your hand up if you think so. Barbar, put your hand down, please. What this really is a way to create an environment of fear and paranoia and hostility among the students on a college campus to make this a completely and totally toxic minefield of potential misstep. Even if you actually have no sexual encounter with anybody at any time, you can still be accused because they don't follow the rules of evidence. They're not bound by sort of the procedures of habeas corpus the way an actual criminal law institution would be. This is a school. And these laws, these rules, are going to be enacted by cafeteria managers and professors of literature and so on. If I was still trying to argue for sanity, which, by the way, I'm not, I would be radically in protest of this law. I'd say this is outrageous. It is outrageous, but I absolutely and totally encourage the wider feminist enterprise to continue lobbying to have these laws put on the books. They're going to do it in New Hampshire probably, and in other states. It's fantastic. This is going to drive men out of the college environment. They'll probably be getting their educations online. It's going to create an environment of incredible hostility and paranoia between men and women, because it has these provisions for anonymous accusation. And remember, none of this is actual, a criminal charge for a criminal offense. This is all kind of behavioral and thought policing. So, the paranoia, the fear, the hostility, the environment of backstabbery that this is going to create is so totally dysfunctional that it absolutely advances the need for men to separate away, to go their own way, to disavow any association with people in an environment like this, with, other female students who they might otherwise have been able to get along with and be friends with. The insanity can only be cured by going farther, it seems. So let's push the feminists and just tell them, go as far as you possibly can. And to everyone else, thanks very much for watching, and have a lovely day.